Okay, good afternoon. I think I had muted my mic and I was speaking. Anyway, there are 25 people here. I think the class strength is a bit more. So let's just wait maybe for 5 minutes. Okay, meanwhile, let me share my screen and let's just see. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think a few of you had a few questions on the assignment. So let's just discuss what you're supposed to do as part of assignment. So here is the questions. So let's begin from here. Okay, so now the first question. So here there are a few keywords that you must recollect. So there is the first thing which is called as probability mass function. Okay, so what is this? So does anyone want to tell me what is a probability mass function? Perhaps better from the UG, if anyone wants to say it's better. Because PG students had already done this last semester. So what's a probability mass function? Anybody? There is class participation, so please answer something so that I know where you stand.
Yeah, so probability mass function gives the probability of a random variable, a discrete random variable, you can say.
Okay, very good. That is correct. So what it is saying is, suppose if you have x, which is a discrete random variable. So let us take some example. Let's take Bernoulli. Okay, so what is the thing? So you need to tell what is probability x equal to 0 and what is probability x equal to 1. This is written as px of 0. Okay, this is equal to px of 1. And here you will tell what is the probability of getting 0 and here is what is the probability of getting 1. Okay, so this enumeration of all possible values of which the random variable can take, okay, and that is nothing but the probability itself, that is called as a probability mass function. So one of the things that if you recollect from what you have studied earlier is that if you sum over all possible values of x, okay, x belongs to the complete range of x. Okay, if you sum over all of this, you will get 1. Okay, so right, so this is what you must have you must remember this. So now in this particular example, what I'm asking you to do is to repeatedly do a coin toss till you get head, till you get kth head. So let's fix some k. So let's say k here in question number 1, you fix a k. Let's say k equal to 4. Okay, so in this, so you need to do this for several cases. You fix k equal to 1, k equal to 2, k equal to 3, and k equal to 4, k equal to 5, and so on. Okay, for every k, you repeatedly do a coin toss, okay, till you get a one sample of k. So for example, let's say you do a coin toss, let's say k equal to 3. Okay, so your first trial will go like this. Trial number 1, you will do a coin toss. So how do you do a coin toss? It is called np dot binomial, I think. Okay, you just check this. So it's a NumPy library which is there in Python. It allows you to get samples from Bernoulli. You search in internet how to get this. Okay, that's not really the problem. So once you get a thing, you may get a sequence of coin tosses. You just do till you keep doing it till you get a 1. Okay, so So like this. So this is the first head. Okay, then you have another tail, then you get another head. Okay, then you have 0. Okay, then 0, and then you get then you get here. Okay. So now, how many number of rounds did it take to get kth head? Yes. So how many did it take? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So first trial when you did, it took 10 rounds. So like that, you repeat for several. Let's say you repeat this for 100. Okay, this will take 5, this will take 7, and so on. Okay. Then for k equal to 3, you can draw basically the proportion of times. So how many trials it took? 0. There will be no case where you will get the kth head in 0 trial. In 0 trial itself or 1 trial itself. Okay, it can start. The earliest value that you can get for k equal to 3 is 3. Okay, so some proportion of it will come here. Okay, for 4 there will be some proportion like that. Is this clear how to do?
So can you repeat the graph part?
Okay, so see, you have to keep doing the trial till you get a head for the kth time. So k I have fixed as 3. Okay, so now in the example that I have shown here, the first time when I did this, it took me 10 rounds before the third head came. Okay, so now what I'm saying is, you do this for 100 times, you will get some proportion of time it took 0 rounds, some proportion of times which took 1 round, 2 round, 3 round, and so on. This particular thing, for instance, will count for 10 rounds. So for 10, there will be a contribution here due to this. Okay, now what I'm saying is, you just plot it as a ratio. Okay, so on the x-axis, you say px of x. Okay, where x is the random variable which denotes number of trials till third head. Is it clear? Whoever asked me that question, who was it that asked?
Oh, sir, me, Shivam. That's clear now, to me at least.
Yes. Yeah. So anybody else has any questions here? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next one. All right. Okay. So this is the first thing. So let me just talk about the second one. So let's just delete this so that we have some space to go. So you can do it for a few values of k. Okay, don't have to do for all k. That will be like too many graphs. So few values of k, you do it and you share the code. Oh my God! All right, no problem. Let's do it again. So here, let's just come over here. This is the place. Okay, Control Shift print screen. Okay, the second question is concerning a Markov chain. Did you guys learn about Markov chains anytime? Anybody? Shivam, did you learn about Markov chains?
Yes, sir. In the last semester, we briefly discussed about that.
So what was the course called in artificial intelligence?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so then you know what is a Markov chain. So what I'm asking you to do here is, like, you start with n equal to 0. Okay. Yeah, so basically simulate a run-up beginning at state 0 at n equal to 0 and estimate the n equal to 100 step transition probability. Okay, so basically you are starting from state 0. Okay, let's say you start at so you start at 0. Okay, you're starting at state 0. So n equal to 0, you are at state 0. So this is n. So we can write this n equal to 0. Okay, what state you are in? Let's say it's in 0. Now what you are going to do is that at n equal to 1, you are going to find out from 0 where you can go. So what are all the possible outcomes looking at the Markov chain? From 0, where and all I can go to? Anyone?
0 and 1.
Look at 0 and 1, right? So let us say you remain at 0. At state equal to 2, you go at 1, and so on. So then from 2 at state 3, you are at from 1 where and all you can go to 2, or you can go to 0, or you can remain at 1. So let us say you remain at 1. Okay, like this at state 4, at n equal to 4, you can go to 2. So you just simulate this. Okay, how do you do this? Again, this is easy. So what you need to do is you need to, one way is you do np.uniform. Okay, so what does np.uniform give you? np.random.uniform, maybe, I don't know, but yeah, you basically pick a uniform number between 0 and 1. So what does this give you? If you have you done anything with NumPy like this? So should I continue? Because people are, if you are all familiar with this, then I'm wasting my time. So I don't know what people think. Let's just continue with the class then, since everyone is clear about this. Okay.
So I don't know about uniform.
Yes.
Uniform.
Okay. Yeah. So np.uniform gives you a value uniformly between 0 and 1. Some number between 0 and 1, it will give you a value. Okay. So this could be 0.6 or 0.9. Okay. The property that uniform has is that the chance. So if you take a uniform random variable and if you pick 2 intervals of the same length. Okay, so this is one interval, and then you pick another interval of the same length. So let's say this is 0.1 to 0.2. This is 0.7 to 0.8. The uniform has a property that x belonging to this interval 0.1 to 0.2. Okay, this is equal to probability that x belongs to 0.7 to 0.8. So it gives you any number, like any number can come. Okay, very uniformly. There is no preference for one or the other. So now, in order to simulate from state 2, so you are in state 2 here. Okay, which state to go? You pick a number uniformly between this. Okay, then you see if that number is. So what are all the states you can go to? So let us say you can go to state 1 or state 3. To go to state 1, the probability is Q2. Okay, to go to state 3, the probability is P2. Okay, and to remain in state 2, the probability is 1 minus P2 Q2. So what you do is, if your number that you picked is between 0 to Q2, you go to state 1. Okay, if the number is between Q2 to P2 plus Q2, then you go to. Okay, so if the number is between this, you go to state 3, and if it is beyond P2 plus Q2, then you go to state 2 itself. So that is what is the decision. This is how you implement from one state. How do you transition to the next state? So is it clear? Whoever asked me last time,
yes, sir.
Ankit, did you? Yeah. Okay. So this is how you do this, and then at state 100, okay, you will be in one state. So let us say you do this. At state 100, you will be in one state. So let's say this is in 7. Okay. Now this is the outcome of one trial. So all this business you did for just get one sample number 1. So like that you keep counting how many times you will be in these states. Okay, so here I have said n equal to 4, so this cannot be 7. Let's assume this is 3. Okay, now what you do is you repeat this experiment for let's say 10,000 times. Okay, so at that time, at 100 sample, you are in 4. Okay, so like that you collect and then you make a plot. You just make a PMF of it. So what are all the possible states it will be? It will be in state 0, it will be state 1, state 2, state 3, state 4. What you should get is roughly, they should all be similarly sized. Okay, this is what you will get. Is this clear? See, I am not asking. Yeah. Okay. See, this is important. Okay, this comes in your MCMC, Monte Carlo Markov chains. Okay, it's an important machine learning concept. So for doing that, you should get familiar with this Markov chain. So that's why I'm asking you these questions. Okay, well, it's a thought out question. Okay, so if you have any doubts, please ask me. All right. So that is question number 2. So then coming to question number 3. This is also a very interesting, important question. Okay, so let us discuss this. Okay. Okay, so first of all, what is this question asking? Okay, so this is an important question that arises very often. Okay, it is asking you, how many times do you have to ask people for a good estimate of an election outcome? Okay, that is what is the whole issue. Okay, so this is like election is one example, but you may want to do it for several other things. Okay, in companies and all, you may want to do surveys, and then based on the survey, you want to conclude something, right? What is the point of doing a survey if it does not reflect the true belief of the people? Okay, so that is why this central limit theorem, Chebyshev inequality, all of these are important things. So first of all, let me ask you, have you learned Chebyshev inequality anytime?
Yes, sir, in the probability course.
Okay, that's good. So can someone tell me what's a Chebyshev inequality saying? Okay, what is Markov saying? Can someone say what does Markov inequality say? Okay. So let me give you some hints. So x is greater than 0. Suppose there is a positive random variable. So positive random variable means it cannot take negative values. Okay, so this is x is always greater than 0. What you have is that probability that x is greater than some value a is less than or equal to expected value of x by a. So this is what it is. Okay, this is called Markov inequality. So let us quickly see why this is true. Okay, what is expected value of x? Can someone tell me what is the value? How do you write expected value of x? For both discrete and continuous, can someone tell me? Who doesn't remember? Yeah,
So
tell me, Nilesh.
Summation of xi into p of xi for discrete.
Yeah.
And for continuous, it's integral.
Okay, for continuous, it is integral x f of x dx. Okay, this is called as density function. Okay, so these things you must remember. You should learn it. If you have forgotten, you should revise it. Okay, this is going to be very important for the course. Now, when you have something like this, what you can do is, like, suppose let's take this. So what you do is use first sum over x less than a. Okay, x px of I. Okay, sum over all I is less than a. Then here you sum over all x. Here I is greater than or equal to a. Is this fine? I'm just dividing the summation into two regions. Okay, I should be really careful. Okay, this summing is over I. This summing is over I. Okay. Is this fine?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good. So now what we are going to do is that, see, this x is a random variable which is positive. Okay, so all these terms are positive. Probability is also a positive number. This is positive number. So if I drop this, what will happen? E of x will be something compared to I greater than a, I px of I. What will happen? What is the inequality here? Which is bigger if I drop a positive, greater than or equal to. Okay, fine. So this is what we will do. Next, what we will do is we will make this even more smaller. So we will take this I is either a plus 1, a plus 2, and so on. We will take the lowest possible value of I. So what is that? So that is nothing but a. Summation over I greater than a, px of I. Is this step clear to everyone? What we did here? I just took the I and took, yeah, okay, good. So now what is this value?
Probability x is greater than a.
Greater than or equal to a. Okay, so this is going to be less than or equal to 1 over a e of x. So this is Markov inequality. Okay, this is Markov. So now what we will do is this Markov inequality has a restriction that x is greater than 0, right? So this is what Markov inequality forces us to do. So instead, now for a general random variable, suppose x is a general random variable. Okay, so which means it can take both positive and negative. Let's define y is equal to x minus mu whole squared. So what is mu? Mu, okay, is the Greek letter mu. You say mu. Okay, this is equal to expected value of x. Suppose this is given to you. Okay, let us define y equal to x minus mu whole squared. Is this okay? So what is y? Is y a random variable?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so y is a random variable. So what is expected value of y? Can someone tell me? So I'm asking all these questions only to the UG students because PG students have just seen it last semester. Okay, so what is expected value of y?
So e of x square.
Expected value of y is not e of x square, it is variance of x. Okay. Okay, I think you must have all forgotten about these things. Have you learned these things? Any point? What is a variance?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So does this remind you now that when you take expected value of y, it is variance of x? Yeah. No?
Sir, not exactly this, but I remember something like covariance and variance. It was a combination of covariance and variance or general y.
Okay. So variance of x is actually, you might have seen this way, expected value of x minus e of x whole square. This is what you might have seen. Does this, do you remember this one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now I am just substituting for e of x here, right? So this is nothing but expected value of x minus mu whole square. That is what is here. That's what I have done. Nothing mysterious so far. Okay. All right. So let's move on. Okay, let's move on because we need to do new things. I cannot keep. Let's do further. So now applying now y, since it's a square, it's always y is greater than 0. Okay, so that means y is a positive random variable. Now we can ask, what is the probability that y is greater than or equal to a? Okay, what is that? So what is the probability that y is greater than or equal to a? Okay, it's less than 1 over a expected value of y. Okay. So now variance of x is typically written as sigma squared. So this is called as sigma. So this is again a Greek letter. I don't know if people have seen this or not. I hope you have. Okay. So now with this, so this we can directly see. Okay. So this is what we will use to derive Chebyshev inequality. So what we would like to say is probability that, suppose if you want to find out what is the probability that x minus mu is greater than a, greater than or equal to a, this is nothing but probability that x minus mu whole squared is greater than or equal to a squared. Okay, this is nothing but less than or equal to 1 over a squared variance of x. Okay, so that's why we get the Chebyshev inequality. Probability that x minus mu greater than or equal to a is less than or equal to sigma squared by a squared. So this is Chebyshev inequality. Are all the steps clear to people? Can I have a quick poll in the chat? If it's clear, can you just say yes? If it's not clear, please go ahead and say no. So the others are not responding, so I don't know what's going on.
Sir,
Yeah, Siddharth.
sir, in that step, how did we write x minus that squared is great?
Okay, so this is a this what I'm writing is the absolute value. Okay, so this is absolute value. So for those values where x minus mu absolute value is greater than a, if that is true, then it also must be true that the square of that should also be having the same inequality, right? So what I'm saying is, suppose
okay, got that, sir.
Okay, fine, good. So Siddharth, rest of it is okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now coming back to the problem, why all these things are we saying? So now basically you have an election. Okay, in the election, what you are having is there is two candidates A and B. Okay, and let us say mu A amount of people support candidate A. Okay, this is probability that X supports A. Okay, now we want to estimate like what is the we want to do an exit poll and try to estimate this. So now the way you do exit poll is you ask 100 people or some number of n number of people, and then you ask if they support a thing. So what is that? So mu A hat is number of people who support A divided by n, the number of people that you asked. Okay, this is the number of people out of the sample who supported A. Okay, so now the question that remains is how far is mu A? What is the probability that this mu A hat minus mu A is actually, so this has to be close. Okay, what is the probability that this is actually bad? Bad means it's away from this number. This number, this chances of this happening, I want to minimize it. This is the problem. Okay, this is what I would like to do. So now can you see that there is some similarity between this and whatever Chebyshev inequality we have written? Okay, so if you use Chebyshev inequality, you can do that this number that you need to poll is 5556. Okay, it feels like I'm teaching probability again because nobody is saying anything. I don't know what's going on. What is happening, people? Is it clear?
Sir,
Yeah.
this is Devang, sir. I understood the proof and the formula, but I can't recall what it actually means, the inequality. What does it state?
Okay. Okay, so this inequality, is it? This is
Yes,
not
sir,
clear to
the
you?
Chebyshev, yeah. So what does it state theoretically?
So, okay. See, so basically you have a, okay, let's revisit the definition of random variables. Okay, what is a random variable? So random variable is a function from omega to R. Okay, so random variable X is a function from sample space to R. So this is your sample space. So this is all the possible ways in which the randomness manifests. Okay, these are all the ways in which you can have this kind of a thing. All right, so now let's take an example to understand this. So let us say omega, is like all the genes of a human beings. So let us say this is all possible genes in a human being. Okay. So now there are a few variations, right? See, not all of us are alike. So somebody is tall, somebody is short, somebody is colorblind, somebody is this, that. So these are all the manifestations of the genes. Okay. Now assuming that you are picking a person uniformly at random, you pick a random person, okay, and you measure the height. Okay. So X is height of a random person. Devang, so far it's okay?
Yes, sir.
So now let us say what it turns out. See, basically many things in the real world have a normal distribution shape. Okay, so let's focus human beings. Let's just change it to male human beings, for instance, just so that we have one single distribution. Okay.
Okay.
So now what you will have is if you take, since it is a measurement, since I'm saying it is going to be a normal distribution, what you will end up having is it will be a normal distribution like this. Okay, it will have some mean. Let's say the mean of this adult male human being was 165 centimeters. So this is the mean, and the variance sigma squared. Okay, so or the sigma, the standard deviation. This is sigma. Let us say this is 2 centimeters. So this is the normal distribution, right? So fx of x is given by, the density is given by 1 over sigma this, right? If you remember, e power minus x minus mu whole squared by 2 sigma squared. So this is what is the density of a normal distribution. Okay, and you are picking a random person whose height is this. Okay, now what I am saying, so this Chebyshev inequality, what it is doing is probability that let's say I will fix some values. So let's say x, okay, x minus mu is 165. This is, so this height is greater than, let's say, 10 centimeters. So basically what I'm looking at is, if you go and look at 10 centimeters on either side. So this is 155 centimeters and this is 175 centimeters. I am asking, what is the probability that you will get something in this? It will happen, right? This can happen. There could be extremely tall people or there could be extremely short people. Devang, does this make sense so far?
Yes, sir, this is possible.
Yeah, and now this is less than sigma squared. So I told sigma is 2, sigma squared is 4 divided by 10. What is that? 10 square. So that is 100. Okay, so essentially what I have done is I have shown you that the chance that somebody is less than 155 or greater than 175, this is less than 0.04. So this is a low probability event. Devang, do you understand now what it means to say about Chebyshev?
Okay, sir. So it means like a minimum percentage of observation will lie in every range. There will be.
Yeah. So because your sigma is a measure of the spread, you are able to tell what is the spread in terms of this. This is, Devang, this is telling the spread. Do you see this? How far you are from the mean is a spread.
Right. So around, so the distribution. Okay. The distribution is around the mean.
Yes. It is telling away from the mean, what is the probability that you find yourself in that region. Okay. Okay,
sir. Okay. Understood.
Okay. So this is this. Now, what happens is when you are doing a experiment like this, okay. So here is the experiment. What you are doing is you are making some measurements. So in this, what is the random thing? Can someone tell me what is the random thing here in this expression here? You have to make guesses, people. If you don't know, also you just make a guess. Otherwise, I don't know where you stand.
Mu hat A. People who support A.
Aditi, what did you say?
So just a guess, like number of people who support A. So like
yes, absolutely. That is the only random, right? Mu A is a number. This is a fixed thing. See, you do an election, some number of people support some candidate. That is fixed. What you are doing at random is you are just randomly picking people and asking them. See, it can so happen is if you are particularly unlucky, you will pick all people who support B, right? Aditi, does it make sense now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now, so that is what is the thing. So here we have this kind of a thing. This is a fixed number. Okay, don't worry if you don't remember. Slowly we will recollect everything If required, you can see my lectures again. But any case, I'm trying to remind you of these things that you have already read and learned. All right. So now let us try to answer some few important things. So what is the expected value of mu hat of A? What is this? So that time with Aditi, somebody else also spoke. Who was that?
So it was me.
Ankit, so can you tell me what is expected value of mu hat of A?
I think mu A.
Yeah, that is mu A, right? Because probability that some person supports A is this. Okay. So if you do this, this is what it will turn out to be. Okay. If you are not clear, you ask me anyway. So now next question that we need to do this is variance of this. Okay. So this is where it gets a little tricky. Okay. So let us do this a little slowly so that you catch. Let me just do it somewhere here. Okay. So what is the setup? So basically you are asking 100 persons what is their preference. So x1, x2, all the way till 100 people. You are asking whom do you vote for? Okay. So their answer is going to be either 1 if they support A, if they support A. 0 if they support B. Okay. So now what is the probability that particular person supports A? Okay. This is nothing but mu A. Okay. This is unknown. This is what we want to find out. Okay. And now what we did is we took the sample mean. So mu 100 hat. Okay. What is this? This is 1 over 100 summation xi I equal to 1 to 100. Okay. And x1, x2, all of this x100, they are independent. So what it means is every person that I'm picking is independent of the previous person. So what is a case where in a survey, if I'm doing a survey, it is not independent? Can someone tell me this? An example where I'm surveying 100 people, the survey is not independent. Can someone tell why, when that can happen?
Sir, if we have families included.
Very good. Very good. So if you are asking the same members of the family, they will all be saying in the same way, most likely. Okay. If it is a family that is like little bit in agreement with each other, but it can be different, but it is more chances that they will answer similarly. So you are supposed to pick people such that they are independent. Now, if you want to take expected value of mu hat of 100, okay, and since xi's are independent and expectation has this linearity property, what is the linearity property? Expected value of ax plus by, okay, x and y are independent. What is this given by? Anybody?
A times expected value of x plus b times expected value of y.
Yes, very good. So this is what you get. So similarly, coming over here, I will get 100 times. Each of this expectation is mu a, mu a, mu a. So you will get mu a plus mu a plus mu a. So this will give you mu a. Okay. So expected value of 100 samples is mu a. Okay. But again, we don't know. See, every time I do ask 100 people, I will get one particular realization of this random variable mu 100 hat. So sometimes if I ask 100 in one way, I may get this number as 0.7. Sometimes it may come as 0.3. Sometimes it may come as 0.6. Right? This is what Aditi was telling, right? This is random. So that's what is the randomness here. Okay. But the expected value of this randomness is mu a. Now, what is the variance of this? Variance of ax plus by? Can someone tell me, given a and b are independent? Yes?
A square variance of x plus b square. Variance
Yes.
of.
Yes, very good. So that is what it is. Okay. So here, so when you do variance of sigma 100, this one. So what is this? This is actually x1 by 100. This is, I have just written it in this way so that you can apply that. So can someone apply and tell me what is variance of mu 100 of this? Yeah, anybody? No, it's just a formula. Yeah.
Variance of x. N.
Variance of x1 plus variance by, tell me what is it supposed to be.
Variance of x1 plus variance of x2 plus variance of x3 plus variance of x100.
Divided by?
Divided by 100 square.
Very good. Okay, so that's what. So simple things I'm asking. Just cooperate with me, right? We are all learning an important course. All right. So this is variance of x100. If you don't remember, tell me you don't remember. Then we will revise. All right. So each of this we know is having some variance. Okay. So this is going to be. So what is the variance of xi? So here, this is the expected value of xi, right? So what is variance of xi? So that is nothing but, if you remember, this is mu a into 1 minus mu a. Okay, it's a number like this. We will call it as sigma a. All right, sigma a squared. So for a Bernoulli random variable, the expected value of x is same as mu a. Variance is p into 1 minus p. That is what it is. Okay, you can go back and check. So each of this is a same number. So this is sigma x. Okay, there are 100 of them. So this is 100 divided by this. So variance of this is sigma x by 100. All right. So now we are ready to apply the Chebyshev inequality. Okay, so what was the whole business? We have completely forgotten our name also by now. So here we were, right? So now to apply the Chebyshev inequality, I will have to say this probability, okay, using Chebyshev inequality. Yes, what is it? Someone can tell me now. Just tell me the Chebyshev inequality, or okay, fine. Since you don't like to speak, let me say. So it's here, right? This is what we have. So probability that x minus, mu a hat minus mu a greater than 0.03 is less than or equal to, what do we want? 0.05. Okay, so but from Chebyshev inequality, we know that this is less than or equal to, okay, 1 over a square. So this is 0.09, 0009. Okay, that is a squared, and variance of this is sigma x divided by 10,000. No, 100. Okay, so this becomes sigma x by 0.20, 0.09. So this number, okay, it better be less than 0.05. Okay. I am sure all of you are confused
sigma squared,
by now.
right?
Yeah. Sorry. Sigma squared. Correct. And this is not 100. It is n. It's n. Okay, n into 0.03 whole squared. Okay, so far everything is okay.
Yes, sir.
So now you can solve for n, right? Isn't that wonderful? Now you can solve for n. So n better be greater than or equal to sigma x squared divided by 0.05 into 0.03 squared. Okay, so now you have got a relation. How you sample number of people so that you are having this accuracy. Your estimate, okay, this is the estimate that you make by doing a survey. Okay, is the error of that estimate. Error means I am not making a variation more than 0.03. This number is less than 0.05. This is a very small chance that I will deviate. Okay, so now there is one problem. What is the problem? Yes, what's the problem? See, the problem is I don't know sigma x. Okay, so that is why I'm saying you can use this upper bound of 0.25. So this is a thing for a Bernoulli random variable. Okay, if x is a Bernoulli random variable, variance of x is always less than 0.25. Okay, because variance of x is given by p into 1 minus p. Okay, the largest this value will take is for p equal to half. So this becomes 1/4. Okay, so now coming back to this, we can apply that. So what you get is n should be greater than or equal to 1/4 into this one into 0.03 squared. So can someone compute this and tell me what this number is? Yes, anyone?
So 45.55.
How much?
Sir,
N should be greater than?
5555.
Something like this, is it?
Yes, sir. Around it.
So that is what, yeah. So that is what I'm saying. This is the number that you should get if you do the calculations correctly. I am not asking you to submit this. We are not. This is just this is just the beginning. Okay. So now what you are supposed to do is that you need to check whether if you take these many samples, is it really that you are getting this accuracy? So that is the question that I'm asking you to do in this problem. Okay, so I think the whole class has been gone in the discussion of assignments. So let me just anyway continue. Okay, so let us, before that, let me talk about central limit theorem also, because this is more important. We'll come to the actual experiment later. Okay, let's just do central limit theorem first. Okay, are there any questions so far? Can I just have a quick poll? If you please say yes if everything is clear. So far, everything is clear. Don't be compelled to say yes. If you have something that you don't understand, you let me know. I can discuss with you later. Okay, very good. So looks like everyone understands so far. So let us now try to see. This is what we got with Chebyshev, but we can do something better, which is called central limit theorem. We can use central limit theorem and get a better estimate. So that is what we will do next. Okay, so for that, we have to recollect what is central limit theorem saying. Okay. So one thing that we saw is that when you do mu n hat, okay, expected value of mu n hat was mu a, right? And variance of mu n hat was sigma x whole squared by n. This is what we got, right? Remember, this is what we just shown a few minutes back. This is what we did so far. Now, what central limit theorem says. So what I'm saying now is an informal version. Okay, this is, let us say, this is informal. What it says is the distribution mu n hat. Okay, so the mean and the variance is known, but we don't know the shape, right? What is the shape? What central limit theorem says is this is very close to normal distribution. Okay, with mean, what will be the mean? With mean mu a and variance sigma x squared by n. So this is what it is saying. Okay. So this is what the central limit theorem is saying. Okay, now, okay, so now there are a few properties of normal that you should have studied sometime. Have you studied normal variable sometime? Anyone?
Yes, we saw normal variables in data interpretation.
Okay, very good. So now, normal variable has a property, normal distribution has a property that, so first important property, if y is equal to ax plus b, where x is normally distributed, normal with mean mu and variance sigma squared, this is the variance. Okay, so y, if I do some ax plus b, where a and b are some numbers, let's say 2 and 3, then y is also normal. Okay. It's normal with the, what is the mean? Yes, somebody?
Mu.
No, it is A mu plus B. Yeah, A mu plus B. Okay. Yeah. And the variance? Yes, somebody?
A square sigma square upon n.
A square sigma square, not upon n. Okay, you need to, all of you need to brush your probability. Okay, you need to brush it. You please contact me if you need help. Okay, so I will be happy to help you. I will be happy to point out the resources. Okay, yeah. So this is what is the mean and the variance of the normal distribution. Okay, so now what I am saying, if you see, I am saying mu n hat is normally distributed with mean mu a and variance sigma x squared by n. Okay, now normal distribution, you cannot evaluate the probabilities easily. So what you do is you go into the standard normal distribution. Standard normal. So what is standard normal? Standard normal is typically represented by Z, and this is going to be a normal distribution itself with mean 0 and variance sigma squared. So this is mean and this is variance. And then there is a standard normal tables which you can refer to get all kinds of probabilities. Okay. All right. So this is what is there. You can go check this. So now if I come to the problem at hand, if I say what is a thing that I'm interested in, yeah. So mu a hat minus mu a is greater than 0.03. Yeah, that thing is less than 0.05. That one I want to do, right? So coming to that, I'm interested in the probability that mu n hat minus mu a is greater than 0.03. This probability, I want to ensure that it is not too large. This is what I want to do. Okay. So now we can make an observation that mu n hat, suppose if I have a new random variable y, which is mu n hat minus mu a. Okay. Mu a is a number. Remember, this is a number. So what is the expected value of y?
Zero.
Yes, very good. So this is 0. Expected value of y is 0. Okay. So now what I will do is, like, I know that this is a normal variable with mean 0 and the variance is sigma x squared by n. Okay. So if I take x is a normal distribution with mean mu and variance sigma squared, we can show that x minus mu by sigma, this is going to be standard normal. You can check it later. So this is going to be standard normal. So what we will do is, like, we will convert this into a standard normal problem. So we will say this probability, this probability is equal to probability that mu n hat minus mu a divided by sigma x square root of n. Okay, this is the standard deviation. Okay, this is square is the variance. You have to take the square root to get standard deviation. This probability greater than 0.03 by, so if I'm dividing something here, I should also divide here. Okay, this is going to be less than 0.05. Okay, so essentially this is going to be a standard normal. This is standard normal. Okay, and what I'm asking is, there is a standard normal like this with the mean 0. I'm asking to find a region like this so that this tail probability on both sides is 0.05. Okay, this is what I'm asking. So that means if the tail, both side tails is 0.05, each side tail is 0.025. Okay, so this tail will be 0.025. I can look at the standard normal table and get a number which corresponds to this. Okay, maybe okay, let's just let me just do a quick poll. How many of you are finding it too difficult to follow? Say yes if it is too difficult to follow. Okay, so everything is fine. So, okay, it's Manan, you're finding it difficult?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's continue this thing tomorrow, because I guess I cannot brush too fast. See, what I ask you all to do is go back and revise these things. Whatever I have taught you today, please go and see the important reference materials around this. My lectures from last semester is also there. If you don't like my voice, you hear somebody else, but learn all of these things. All right. So please go back and do this. And tomorrow when you come, you will be in a better position to understand what's going on. Okay, so we will start from this point again, and we will try to address all these queries. Okay, so let's continue this discussion for tomorrow. I don't have much time left. So let's continue this tomorrow. Please see some videos, and yeah, so then you can ask me more questions. Okay, so whatever I have taught today, ask me if you have any questions tomorrow. All right, so we will stop here. Thanks. All right, see you tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.